we go. So Jelly Roll is a rapper who turned country singer, and he went in front of urges Congress. I thought he was in front of the Senate. I believe he was in front of the Senate, but maybe Congress. Okay, he's probably urging Congress. He didn't go in front of the Congress. He went in front of the Senate, but he's urging Congress to pass this bill called the Fend Off Fentanyl Act. So let's first look at what the Fend Off Fentanyl Act is. Fend Off Fentanyl. Oh, I already have this shit pulled up. What am I doing here? So we got some. I've been doing a lot of research with AI and going through here and trying to find. Where is it? AI is so fickle. Okay, so this is what the Fend Off Fentanyl Act. I was like, explain it in simple terms because I am but a simple man. And I definitely speak English good. Okay, so let's just read through this AI thing, and then maybe we'll click on this link and make sure everything is in order here. But the Fend Off Act, in simple terms, is a bill that was introduced in the U.S. Congress in 2023. It aims to stop illegal production and distribution of fentanyl, a very powerful and dangerous drug that can cause many deaths from overdose. Many deaths, and it does, and it has, and it's just been getting worse. Yeah, a lot worse. Giving the U.S. So this is what the bill makes up of. So it would give the U.S. Treasury Department more power to identify and punish the people and groups that make, sell, or transport fentanyl and its ingredients from other countries, especially China and Mexico, which China produces a lot of the fentanyl that's coming over here, or selling the raw materials to Mexico, and they process it and send it up to America. Because if it's one thing the war on drugs did was make drugs more fucking in need and make them more of a commodity, right? I mean, it's a huge commodity. How many billions of dollars does Let's ask AI if they can give us an answer. What is the how much money is made on the drug trade between Mexico and the U.S.? Let's see, how much money? How much money? That's such a shitty way to put all this sentence, but let's just see what it says. The exact amount of money the drug trade is hard to estimate, but according to the 2016 report, $19 and $29 billion U.S. sales, 23. Whoa, Jesus, hold on. How did it go down? So wait a second. So according to the 2016 report by The Guardian, Mexican drugs cartels estimated to make about 19 and 29 billion annually from U.S. drug sales based on data from the U.S. government and the United Nations. And then according to a 2023 report by Reuters, at least 4.4 billion or 7.5% of remittances sent to Mexico in 2022 could come from illegal activity such as drug trafficking based on data from the Mexican think tank and the World Bank. The numbers went down because the politicians got smarter at hiding wealth. Well, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. Why would the numbers go down in such a way? And then look at this. According to a 2019 report by PolitiFact, because they're a fact, because they're all facts, right? And welcome, Naders. Welcome in. The value of drugs seized at the U.S.-Mexico border in 2019 was about 44.2 million per week, or about 2.3 billion per year based on the data. So it does seem... Oh, that's a good point too, right? Because the legalization of marijuana, I could definitely see that. Why have profits gone down? Let's ask AI. Why have profits gone down over the past 10 years. Let's just see what I say. That makes a lot of sense, Naders. Yeah, with the legalization of marijuana, I'm sure that cut into a lot of the cartel's profits, but the cartels got smart and was just like, fuck it, we'll just go to America, grow weed in America, and sell it to the fucking Americans. Like, there's so many operations, especially in California, that where Mexican cartels have taken over, and they're not using fucking Mother Nature friendly, pesticides, right? They're not using organic farming methods, right? No regenerative farming coming from the cartels. I might know a thing or two about drugs. Me too, buddy. There are many possible reasons why profits have gone down over the past 10 years. The global financial crisis. The financial crisis? Shut up. That's stupid. The rise of online shopping and e-commerce, which disrupted traditional retail. Wait. These fucking dudes. This fucking AI just started. Why have drug profits? Okay, so they're just talking about profits in general. God damn it. Why have the profits for the drug trade between Mexico and the US gone down over the past 10 years? Let's try that one. You gotta be specific with these assholes. What about Bitcoin and with Silk Road? Yeah, that could be a real reason too. But I feel like the underground market within the increased enforcement and cooperation between the U.S. and Mexico to combat drug trafficking, which has resulted in more seizures, arrests, and sanctions for drug smugglers. The decreased demand of price for some drugs, such as cocaine and heroin, which has forced competition from synthetic opioids such as fentanyl and methamphetamine, which are way more cheaper and way more potent. It's true. You can get some bathtub meth made fucking and get off for 3 days, as opposed to cocaine, which will get you fucked up for about approximately 12 seconds before you're going to want more. So I can definitely see that. And fentanyl, you just need a little grain of fentanyl to get off. Whereas heroin or Oxycontins or anything like that, you need a lot more. Let's see. That makes sense to me. The increased violence and fragmentation of the drug cartels, right? Because a couple drug cartels over the last 10 years have been broken up, and vacuums for power have increased tenfold, to the point where my mother can't even go to her hometown without some sort of escort to make sure she doesn't get kidnapped by the fucking cartel. The economic and social impact of COVID-19 disrupted supply chains, transportation routes, and consumer markets of the drug trade, and has also increased health and security risks. Okay, I could see that. What about has the legalization of marijuana contributed to the decrease? Hey, Emily, thank you so much for following. Welcome in. Appreciate you. We're going to be going over to Kick on Monday, but thank you. We stream between Twitch and Kick. Anyways, welcome over. We're just talking about drugs and the profits. I mean, drugs are profitable. Has the legalization of marijuana contributed to the loss of profits for Mexican cartels?
Brought to you by Pfizer. Fuck you. Pay me.
I don't know why my freaking things. won't pop up. I tried everything. I turned off bot-rics. I don't know what the fuck. As soon as I got bot-rics for Kick, it just ruined everything on my stream. So thank you, Naders. I appreciate that. And thank you, Pfizer, for bringing us our politicians, our news, our drugs, and much more. Yes, according to some studies and reports, the legalization of marijuana in some U.S. states and Canada has contributed to the decline of profits for Mexican cartels who use to dominate the cross-border marijuana trade. The legal marijuana industry in the U.S. and Canada has produced higher quality and more diverse products, which have reduced the demand and price for low-grade marijuana from Mexico. By the way, not all Mexican marijuana is low-grade. Some of that shit is fire. However, the legalization of marijuana has not eliminated the drug trafficking activities of the Mexican cartels, who have shifted to other drugs such as heroin, methamphetamine, fentanyl, which are more profitable and dangerous. So that's interesting. So because we're talking about today, we're talking about, the impact of fentanyl, and to the point where Congress and the United States government is trying to pass a bill called the Fend Off Fentanyl Act. So it's gotten so bad that we have to pass some legislation here, because we are losing thousands and thousands of U.S. citizens to fentanyl overdose. More, I mean, and the number keeps like quadrupling and doubling as we go. So the idea, it makes sense that because of the legalization of marijuana and because of the low demand from the United States from these Mexican cartels, we are seeing an increase in worse drugs such as fentanyl, which is easier to smuggle since you don't need as much to get people off. So you can pack it in smaller. It's easier to get across the border. Methamphetamine is easier to produce, and it's you don't have to rely on external factors like Colombian cocoa leaves. You can just sort of mix that stuff up in a bathtub. And, people end up dying and shit. And what's fucked up is that these cartels are putting fentanyl and cocaine, and they're mixing fentanyl in everything now, because they're just like, fuck it, they'll get high and people are dying. We went over this with, what's his face? Who's the white boy rapper who died from fentanyl? Oh my God, what's his name? Holy shit, what is his name? Mac Miller. Mac Miller, who ate shit, he was trying to get fake Oxycons or fake Percocets. They were laced with fentanyl, and he ended up dying, overdosing. Fentanyl got so bad in that Colombians diet pink, so it don't get mixed with their cocaine. I believe that because even handling it can kill people. There was this story in New York where there was a daycare that was fucking hiding fentanyl for gangsters, and it was under the floorboards under the daycare where the kids sleep, and one of the babies ended up getting just a little tiny bit wafted up from the floorboards, and it killed him or them. I don't know if it was a him or her. It's very sad. It's very sad. It's very horrible. So what's really, really interesting about profits for drugs are going down, but yet the death tolls are going up. Now, look at these fucking death tolls. So I just took a sample of deaths from 2014, which was the Obama administration, to 2019, which was right at the end of the Trump administration, and then of course 2023, which is where we're at right now in the Biden administration. These numbers are fucking scary. Look at this. 2014, 5,544 deaths from fentanyl in 2014. Now, I'm not blaming Obama here, right? I'm not blaming the Obama. It's hard to just say it's one person's fault. It's a mix of, policy and, what's going on and stuff. But look at under the Trump administration in 2019. And I mean, this is when it really increased, was during the Trump administration. It went from 5,000, almost 6,000 to 36,000 deaths in 2019, and that's in a 5-year period. So but I don't even know, quadrupled? It fucking quadrupled. Again, I'm not trying to say this is Trump or Obama. It's partly their fault for the policies that they push, obviously. But it's more. And, I wish I had a better understanding of how it all sort of culminates, but we tend to see things as Americans in very simplistic terms, as in, under the Trump administration, I was doing good. The economy was good and everything was good. Under the Biden administration, everything was bad. It must be Biden's fault. It must be Trump's fault. No, there's a lot of things that go into it. And we tend to just simplify it as like, it must be his fault, which is ridiculous. But yes, it is in a sense their fault and their failure of policy. But it's not all their fault, right? It takes a lot of fucking idiots to make this kind of numbers, right? Like it takes a lot of failure of the system to get this kind of deaths. Look at this. And then from 2019 to 2023, it has doubled to 70,000 deaths. And that's an estimate. I think 2022 it's around the same, right? I think it's 69,000 or something like. So it went up. So what the fuck is that? And of course, you got this war on drugs, which is definitely this racist policy that was implemented by the Nixon administration. And it was proven that it was a racist. It started in racism, where he wanted to be able to take down these radical black groups like the Black Panthers. They wanted to take them down and be able to shut down these uprisings, which weren't really uprisings. It was just people who were living in their communities, and the word was spreading that you can just be in your own community. You don't have to fucking deal with these people. We could do it all ourselves. They didn't like that. It was too close to communism for them, which yes, it was, because the Black Panthers definitely like communism. They definitely thought it was the way to go. Let me make sure of that. I'm pretty sure, though, Black Panthers, everything was all about communism at one time. And then everything was about terrorism, right? It's just, what's the next is? And everything was about racism. As soon as people found out that Obama was an ineffectual leader, he was like, guess what? It's not my fault. It's the whites. It's all the whites. It's all racist shit. I love Dave Smith's how he analyzed it. That's sort of where I'm getting this from, is like, because you see in 2008 when Obama comes on and he rides on hope, and then 4 years later, and I remember this sentiment, especially within the Black community, of how Obama really let people down. I mean, some people thought that Obama was going to come in and let Ray out of jail and everybody's going to get reparations and shit. He was just another puppet of the state, of course. A corporate state, I should say, a corptocracy. He was just another speaking head, just another figurehead for that was controlled by corporate interests. So it was very disappointing. And Obama decided, like, you know what? Let's switch it up for 2012. We're going to switch this shit up. And that's when you start going in on, he starts pushing this racism agenda. Which was culminating and percolating in the universities, right? And so they were like, hey, I got an idea. Instead of taking responsibility for just selling out my country and, giving the bankers all their bonuses and saving the banks in 2008, he just went and he bailed out all these companies who were too big to fail, which is what we all heard, right? He decided to put it all on the whites and the people who are against the gays and anything that distracts and divides, so no one's paying attention to what's happening over here. Like, don't look over here. Make sure you hate your neighbor because he's a fucking racist and he fucking doesn't like the gays. I really like that interpretation of how the Obama administration really did make this huge shift after their failed policies just, worked directly against the American interests. So I'm looking up if the Black Panthers were. I'm pretty sure that communism was at the heart of it. I just want to make sure. So the Black Panthers were politically organized, founded by Huey Newton. They were part of blah, 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 blah. Come on, we'll just ask we'll just ask this. We're going off base here. Was the Black Panthers part? Was the Black Panthers? Yeah, they were definitely infiltrated. Were the Black Panthers connected to communism? Ooh, bam. Let's see. I'm pretty sure they were, but again, I just want to make sure I'm just not talking on my ass. The Black Panthers also, yeah, we know that, baby. African American. The Black Panthers drew on Marxist ideology, communism, socialism, as a way to achieve liberation and empowerment of Black people in the United States. Right, and that's where this idea of community comes in, putting the community's interest over your own is what you'll see a lot when you're talking about these kind of organizations. The idea of the individual becomes moot, and whereas the community, it takes precedent over one's person. Whereas people think that individualism is the way to go, because if you're taking care of your shit, if your room is clean and you're cleaning your room, and you're making sure your finances are in order and your family's in order, and you're fucking taking care of yourself, and your mental health is getting under control and all this shit, that's going to influence the people around you to do the same, and you sort of influence people to to take responsibility for their actions. So, and I'm somewhere in between that. Like, there is stuff on both sides there, but sort of switching sides back over here to where we're at, and how the oil, why we have to pass a bill to to try to reduce the death of fentanyl, because it's crazy. Like we've talked about this before in the past, of course, but let's see. So let me see. So here is I'm going over what the Fentanyl Act is. The Fentanyl Act. It makes it easier for U.S. government to work out with other countries, the international international organizations, to stop the flow of fentanyl and its ingredients across the border. And it requires the U.S. government to report regularly on the process and challenges of fighting the fentanyl crisis. It is a bipartisan supported bill, so both sides, Republican and Democrats, both are like, hey, what's going on? Another reason why there's a lot more fentanyl coming in here is that we kind of have an open border right now, and the amount of seizures have gone up. People are getting more brazen with it. Are we seeing? Let's ask AI if it can get past its bias. Has there? What was the question? Has there been an increase in? There has been an increase in death. Damn it, I forgot what the question was. Whatever, fuck it. Anyways, coming back to I need a rewind button. I wonder if they would ever put a rewind button so we could just see what I just said. All right, so let's go over, is it here? Yeah. So that's the bill in general, and it does target Mexico and China, because China is again, they're A lot of the raw products are coming from China, and Mexico can produce the products as well, but it's being imported into America through Mexico. So there are some business relationships going on there that are very profitable, very profitable. So what is this? Oh, this is the Sackler family. Okay, we're not there yet. So let's look into what's going on here with Jelly Roll, and let's listen to Jelly Roll talk. This is about 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll stop. Everyone, you know how it goes.
And behind me when I have a microphone in front of me. During the time that I've been given to share my testimony here, I think it's important to note before I start that in these 5 minutes I'll be speaking that somebody in the United States will die of a drug overdose, and it is almost a 72% chance that during those 5 minutes it will be fentanyl related. Having started that way, Chairman Brown, Ranking Member Scott, and esteemed committee members, thank you for having me. I know this is a bit of a curveball, but I like a little baseball myself.
I've never really listened to Jelly Roll, but I definitely think it's, I definitely like his swag.
My name is Jason D4, but to most I am known as Jelly Roll.
I thought he said D4. Why does it keep popping out like that?
It is important to establish earlier that I am a musician and that I have no political alliance. I am neither Democrat nor Republican. In fact, because of my past, my right to vote has been restricted. Thus far, I have never paid attention to a political race in my life.
Now, just a little, he goes into it. Jelly Roll, rapper turned country singer, used to sell drugs, and is a felon. And that is what he is referring to, is that he can no longer participate in elections and other stuff because he has a felony drug charge on his record. So, wait, let me make sure. Does Jelly Roll have a felony on his record? And what was it for? Let's see what it says. Let's see what Jelly Roll's doing, baby. Yes, Jelly Roll has a felony on his record. He was convicted of aggravated robbery when he was 15 years old. What? He and a friend robbed a couple of people for this crime and later spent 2 years in prison for another armed robbery. He's spoken openly. So he's okay. So I was wrong. It's not felony drug charges. It was definitely not that. He was let's see, incarcerated fellow. Closer look at. As an incarcerated felon, singing sensation, Jelly Roll is forever plagued by his criminal past, which is true. Like, this is one thing that I think in Massachusetts they're going to I don't think it has anything to do with felony on your record, but they're trying to get anybody who is under 21, if they have a life sentence, to make sure that it comes with parole, which isn't a bad thing per se. I mean, but it's really hard because the recidivism rate for people going back to prison is so high. Of course, it's going to make people uneasy. In my opinion, I think the thing that does the worst for felons is having to be a felon for the rest of their lives. There's good people who did dumb things when they were young, like we all do. I mean, I would probably be a felon if I was caught, but I wasn't caught. So, just the way the dice roll, baby. But again, like, it's not like I'm this horrible human being. I've done terrible things, in my opinion, but I don't think that I should be penalized for the rest of my life because, people change and people get older and people settle the fuck down. Some people don't, though. So, an incarcerated felon singing sensation, Jelly Roll is forever plagued by his criminal past. Turns out the rapper who shockingly transformed into a country star made a colossal mistake when he was just 15, a mistake that he paid serious time for behind bars, and a mistake that he would never completely be able to get away from. Is this an article? Oh yeah, okay. A Taste of Country reminded a closer look at Jelly Roll's criminal past. A Taste of Country reminded country music fans back in May, Jelly Roll has never tried to hide his criminal past. It, however, wasn't until he sat down for an interview with Joe Rogan that he shared the details of his arrest. Jelly Roll explained that when he was 15 years old, he participated in robbing a couple of guys of their marijuana, so it was a drug related, drug adjacent. Because of the nature of the crime, Jelly Roll was charged as an adult despite being just 15 years old. The singing sensation admits it was a heinous crime he committed. He participated in an armed robbery as they had guns on them at the time. Jelly Roll fessed up during the interview that the mistake fills him with regret and he will carry with him for the rest of his life. The singer paid for the mistake by spending a little over 10 years of his life behind bars. By the end of the punishment, the end of the punishment wasn't the end of paying for his crime. The mistake he made at 15 resulted in an inexpungible felony on his criminal record, and it wasn't until later in life that he learned being an incarcerated felon would prevent him from being able to do all sorts of things. Right, and that to me is the biggest thing. If someone can serve their time, they pay their debt to society, and they get out, and they have they can prove that they're not fucking getting right back into the gang life or selling drugs or doing whatever the fuck they're doing. I definitely think that there should be an application process for felons to get felonies expunged, because it really isn't fair if you pay your time and then you have to live with that for the rest of your life. You can't vote. You have no say. Your job opportunities go way down. You're basically condemning someone to serfdom and to have to go back to, I mean, you don't have to, obviously, but a lot of times people end up going back to fucking selling drugs or being criminals because they don't really have a whole lot of options. Now, they can be cooks and they can do construction, which, many people do that. And there's plenty of jobs that that felons can get as felons, but I always think of my brother-in-law who went to prison. He's a felon. He has a master's degree now. He has a whole family. He has children. He's turned his whole life around. He owns properties. He's not a drain on society. He is a fucking a contributing member to this country, society, and city, and yet he can't get a decent job with a master's degree because he made a mistake when he was 18 years old. So I do believe in consequences, but I do believe in paying your debt to society, and there should be something about that. So the constant hindrance on Jelly Roll's life: the state of Tennessee has a zero forgiveness policy for violent offenders. So Jelly Roll has been forced to continue to carry this charge around with him for the past 2 decades of his life. He shares that simple things such as doing volunteer work at YMCA are out of reach because of his criminal history. He also reveals he doesn't qualify for life insurance. What? Felons don't get life insurance? What the heck? Hey, Joanne, welcome back in. Thanks for being here. I hope you're doing well. Wow, I didn't realize that felons don't get to get life insurance and stuff, which, I don't know. What? Again, I'm not a fan of felons carrying felonies for the rest of their life, especially if they can prove that they have really paid their debt to society and they're on the straight and narrow. And he pays ridiculous rates for homeowners insurance thanks to his criminal past. Knowing the struggles of getting second chance after being charged with a felony, So Jelly Roll has made it his mission to hire only hire felons to work on his food truck. Likewise, he has also dedicated a lot of time and money to helping troubled youth find their way back to a better path. Yeah, so that's nice. See, and it's the same thing with my brother-in-law, right? Like, in my brother-in-law, he has he has uh he has done so much for his community and for his neighborhood, especially back in San Diego, and even now he's getting involved with some stuff in the community. So, I you know, it's a damn shame that these kids they fucking make a mistake as young children and then have to pay for the rest of their life. Also, once again, what about Mr. Trump, who should have been in jail long ago? He should not be allowed to run for president. Yeah, well, I don't know about that. He hasn't had any convictions yet. I know he made the closing statement where he's calling out the judge the other day. But yeah, I mean, if he is guilty, I would definitely be like, yes, he should be off the ballot. If he's a felon and he's did terrible things, and if he was trying to fix the election and all stuff, if we can prove that stuff, I'm all with you. But just from how much the media lies to us, it's hard for me to take anything they say too seriously unless we can see those convictions. Ad. Oh, that was an ad break. Welcome back. I'm glad it tells me when the ads run. I tried to turn off the ads, but you can't, guys. They won't allow me to turn off the ads because I don't care about like the money you get is not worth people having to sit through an ad. It's like literally like 0.5 cents. If I had, thousands of people in here. Oh, I said that that if he's convicted if he is convicted of the things he's being charged with, and that disqualifies him from running, then I am totally with it. And you get him off the ballot. Bye. But but what we've learned in the last few years is that the media really does lie to us and makes things up, and they have agendas being pushed by corporate and federal interests. So I don't take anything they say seriously until we see those convictions. I think it's only fair for him to run, but I definitely don't. If he is convicted and he is ineligible to run, I'm all for that, because I don't particularly like the guy. I'm not going to vote for the guy, but I definitely think that we have to keep things on the straight and narrow before we become just another crooked government, which it's too late for that. They're all paid by. He's been charged with like 90 crimes, most likely is guilty of one of them. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. You can run ads every hour, 3 minutes to tell people you're running them. Oh, okay. Thank you, Joanne. Yeah, I know he's been charged with a lot of crimes, but so is Hunter Biden, and so has and Joe Biden's about to be. They're starting to process. And I know Hunter Biden's not the president, so I know that. Whatever, but Joe Biden is under scrutiny as well for taking money from foreign governments. So let's not forget that both of these guys are crooks. Let's not forget that the other side has just as many crooked people involved as one side. But yeah, Joanne, I'm completely with you. If he's guilty, get that son of a bitch off the ballot, because how can you hold trust in someone who is committing crime after crime after crime? Again, convictions, please. We need convictions. I need the conviction, because otherwise it's lies. Because after the Steele dossier thing and them talking about him getting peed on in Russia or whatever by a Russian hooker, and that all ended up being just fake news, it's hard for me to trust anything, especially through COVID. That whole thing was a mess. So anyways, coming back to our article here, we're talking about Jelly Roll and his his beautiful work he's doing within his community. So Jelly Roll is a felon. He's not allowed to vote anymore. And he has sort of made that sort of his cornerstone of his argument because he has no partisan loyalty. He has no partisan loyalty. And this bill, the Fend Off Fentanyl Act, is being debated right now and is something to slow down the fentanyl coming into this country. And the deaths have just quadrupled over the last 10, 12 years. So it's terrible. There's we're losing a lot of artists, a lot of families, a lot of people are dying from this drug. So I commend him for going in front of the Senate. So let's listen more about Jelly Roll and what he has to say about shit. And try to ignore his appearance. It's so funny to see this guy talking in front of the Senate, but let's go.
Ironically, I think that makes me the perfect person to speak about this because fentanyl transcends partisanship and ideology, gentlemen and women. This is a totally different problem. And I was speaking outside to the media, and I gave them a statistic that said 190 people a day overdose and die every single day in the United States of America. That is about a 737 plane. That's what about a 737 aircraft can carry. Could you imagine the national media attention it would get if they were reporting that a plane was crashing every single day and killing 190 people? But because it's 190 drug addicts, we don't feel that way. Because America has been known to bully and shame drug addicts instead of dealing and trying to understand what the actual root of the problem is with that.
And let's just right here, we can pause and say, hey, what he's saying is very true. The stigma behind someone who's hooked on drugs, I mean, that weighs heavy on people. And the messed up part about drugs is that it could be anybody who gets hooked on them. You slip and fall at work and your doctor prescribes some opiate-based painkillers, Percocets, OxyContin. You end up developing a tolerance and you end up developing an addiction. Because and you don't really have a choice because you have to. The pain is so bad that you have to take these pills. And of course, my internet was down. No worries, Naders. You didn't miss much except for me rambling. Thank you. Good to have you back. Internet, come on, internet. Come on, man. Hold on. I forgot where to.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
How dare you?
All right. This is what happens. I play with the pad. I forget what I was talking about. Anyways, let's move forward. I forgot. Oh yeah. The war on drugs and how it created a stigma around drug addicts. And so, drug addiction is such a crippling force. And what ends up happening, you end up slipping at work. You end up getting prescribed drugs. You get addicted to said drugs. And then all of a sudden, the doctor says, hey, I can't give you any more drugs because your treatment's over and your back should be okay, but your back still hurts. And also, you have a monkey on your back called fucking opiate addiction. So what ends up happening is people go to the black market and they end up buying, if they can't get OxyContin, it's like, well, I don't have OxyContin, but I have this thing called fentanyl, or I have this thing called heroin, right? And so all of a sudden people are becoming heroin addicts because of just a simple slip and fall at work. So anybody could be affected by it. And I almost guarantee that whoever's in this stream or whoever's listening to this podcast has someone in their family or someone that they know that has passed away from drugs. And this all sort of leads to the opiate crisis and how in 1996, the Sackler family, who owns Purdue Pharma, which is, by the way, going bankrupt right now because of this, and we'll read more into this, but just know that this was sort of an orchestrated orchestrated situation purely for profit. It may be something else more nefarious, but we won't go all fucking tinfoil hat yet. But it is definitely proven that Purdue Pharma flooding the country with OxyContin and making it so widely available, and the shady shit that they did behind it, saying it wasn't addictive. Can't help everyone. No, you cannot. But you can help at least reduce the flow of shit that kills them. Considering that the death rates from fentanyl have quadrupled. I mean, in 2014, it was 5,000. And 2023, around 70,000 people a year die. So how do we go from 5,000 to 70,000 deaths from this one drug? Well, we've been kind of going over it, right? We had legalization of marijuana, which focused more on, which made marijuana less profitable for Mexican cartels. And you have so they start pushing these other products, which are easier to make and easier to process and easier to smuggle. And they're way more profitable than marijuana is. You also had a market that was made from a corporation, Purdue Pharma. You created a market. It was like sort of this perfect, it's like this perfect fucking, like the perfect wave that we caught. We have a problem when cops are having an OD from touching. Yeah, exactly. Cops can't even touch the shit without them dying from it. So it's wild. That stuff is poison. Obviously, that needs to go. And then now they're mixing it with like horse tranquilizers. Jesus, tranquilizers. They're mixing fentanyl with tranquilizers, and that's just ruining people too. Trank is ruining people. So, yes, drug addicts, there's a stigma behind it. There is and the war on drugs did nothing to help that. And in fact, it made it easier for people to be prosecuted. It made it so instead of trying to seek treatment, they just threw them in a cell, which is a whole nother industry of itself, right? The prison industrial complex. It created an entire, there was just so much involved. It's so multifaceted, and there was so much money to be made from this shit. So it's very interesting to me. I mean, this stuff always tickles my pickles. So let's move on with this, because I'll just ramble about shit all day.
But the sad news is that narrative is changing too, because the statistics say that in all likelihood, almost every person in this room has lost a friend, family member, or colleague to the disease known as addiction. I've attended more funerals than I care to share with y'all. This committee, I could sit here and cry for days about the caskets I've carried of people I loved dearly, deeply, in my soul, good people, not just drug addicts, uncles, friends, cousins, normal people. Some people that just got in a car wreck and started taking a pain pill to manage it. One thing led to the other. And how fast it spirals out of control, I don't think people truly understand.
And I don't think so either. They don't get it.
So many people.
And because of the stigma that we put on drugs and drug addicts, people, the general population just look at drug addicts like a dredges of society, and they're just meant to be cast away and thrown in a cell. And it's not just fucking the dredges of society anymore. It's like he said, it's your uncle, it's your colleague, it's the president's son. You know what I mean? Like, it's everybody is sort of affected by this. It's musicians that we dearly love, like Prince, Tom Petty, fucking Mac Miller. All of them died from fentanyl.
I think it's important for me to tell y'all that I'm not here to defend the use of illegal drugs. And I also understand the paradox of my history as a drug dealer standing in front of this committee. But equally, I think that's what makes me perfect to talk about this. I was a part of the problem. I am here now standing as a man that wants to be a part of the solution. I brought my community down. I hurt people. I was the uneducated man in the kitchen playing chemist with drugs I knew absolutely nothing about, just like these drug dealers are doing right now when they're mixing every drug on the market with fentanyl, and they're killing the people we love.
And this is happening. You know, like Nader said earlier, he was saying, you know, the Colombians have had such a problem with fentanyl that they dye it pink now, so they know if it's in there. Like, you don't even know what drugs are mixed with what now. And again, Mac Miller, he was trying to buy Percocet or Oxycontin. I can't remember which one it was, but he was just trying to buy a pill from a pharmacy. He ended up buying a black market drug laced with fentanyl. So it's, you know, it's serious shit, man. It's everywhere, and it's not pretty.
I'll be honest with y'all, my desire is to only get older and only do better and be better. I believed when I sold drugs genuinely that selling drugs was a victimless crime. I truly believe that, y'all. My father always told me what doesn't get you in the wash will get you in the rinse. Now I have a 15-year-old daughter whose mother is a drug addict. Every day I get to look in the eyes of a victim in my household of the effects of drugs. Every single day. And every single day I have to wonder, if me and my wife, if today will be the day that I have to tell my daughter that her mother became a part of the national statistics. History repeats itself, gentlemen. Even in the 1990s, crack cocaine had long made its way into my middle lower class neighborhood. And at that moment, even as a teenager, you could have never convinced me in that moment that there would be a far bigger problem on the horizon in the form of a pharmaceutical drug. And then I watched opioids and Oxycontin burst onto the scene.
I think this is a good spot to kind of bring in what he's talking about with Purdue Pharma. One time my friend's husband was addicted to crack. He got better, and that was when they got married. But after they had kids, the people got back the people got back to him. He wound up back in jail. I think addiction never leaves you once you have it. You're absolutely right, Joanne. You're absolutely right. I'm a drug addict. I'll always be a drug addict. I admit and I embrace it like it's fine. It's something you struggle with forever. Although for me, I've had a easier time kicking drugs than others. I've been addicted to heroin and alcohol or opiates. Those are very hard drugs to kick. I've been addicted to cigarettes. And most recently, thanks. Thanks. Thanks for the hug, natives. And now I struggle with caffeine addiction. I fucking hate it. Well, thank you, Joanne. I just think that it's important for people to know that if they're going through something, that it is possible to get past it and have a family and find love and be loved and spread love within the community. It's a very, how's the mushroom tea? Oh, no mushroom tea today. Just coffee. I ended up submitting and drinking coffee, and I'll have a headache tomorrow. But
you won't have a headache. You're just gonna drink more coffee tomorrow.
I'll probably drink more coffee because I have to wake up really early tomorrow. So, whatever, Raina. Where was that cooking stream, Raina?
It was in my dreams because I was sleeping. I'm tired. Okay. You guys, I'm peeing like every 20 minutes. I just want to go back to bed. That's where I'm at.
All right. Not the good mushroom. Thought you had caffeine replacement. No, I did have that mushroom stuff, but I found out that it had instant coffee in it. Naders loves you.
XOXO Naders.
So, I don't know. Everybody deals with addiction on different levels. And definitely caffeine is a drug. It's not as, crazy as the other drugs. It doesn't make you want to fucking suck penis, right?
Oh my God, I'm leaving.
You're not. No one's sucking D for coffee, right? They are sucking D for heroin cocaine and such. But I don't know. For me, coffee it messes with my sleep patterns. So, did you shut the door? It sounds like it's open. I feel like they've not open. In any case, nobody's out there trying to rob a convenience store for a cup of Joe, right? But yeah, that mushroom coffee was really good, Naders. I was actually thinking about that today. I want to go order that mud milk or that mud coffee stuff and just see how it works. Because, man, caffeine messes with my sleep rhythm so bad. I hate it so much. But it's so good. I mean, it gets me so freaking high. Anyways, let's take a step away from our boy Jelly Roll just for a moment and go check out what's going on. So Purdue Pharma is in the middle of a bankruptcy, right? But it shields the Sackler family. Now the Sackler family is thank you for shutting that. God. The Sackler family are the family that owns Purdue Pharma. Where I thought I brought up I thought I had the. Okay, so we'll come back to our Jelly Roll statement. I want to.
We developed MS Cotton. We understand pain. I understand.
This is actually a movie that's on Netflix right now. I mean, this is all really current because of what's going on with the Purdue Pharma, what's going on with fentanyl. And Netflix has an actual movie that they made about the opiate crisis and the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma and how they influenced this crisis we have going on right now. So let's sort of let's watch a little bit of this. And this is MSNBC. So
Understand pain. All of human behavior is essentially comprised of two things: running away from pain and toward pleasure. It's a cycle. Pain, pleasure, again and again.
Pleasure.
Well, this circle is our...
Why is he talking like Donald Trump? Pain, pleasure, pain, pleasure. It's the greatest pleasure. We like the Oxycontin. What the fuck is going on? Hold on, guys. Moving Dutchman, what's going on, my friend? Hi, Moving Dutchman, welcome in. I am Stephen Hawking. Take me to your children.
Why are you gay?
Moving Dutchman, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Okay, so let's watch this. I wish my freaking alerts work properly.
Existence. It is the very essence of what it means to be human, to be alive.
Oh, go take care of your horses, Joanne. Thank you so much. I love horses. Give them a good pet down for me. All right, Joanne, have a great rest of your day.
But if we place ourselves right there between pain and pleasure, then we have changed the world.
Wow, that was Matthew Broderick as Richard Sackler of Purdue Pharma, the makers of OxyContin, in the new Netflix drama, Painkiller. Joining us now, the series executive producer and director Peter Berg and consulting producer Barry Meyer. Meyer is also the author of the book, An Empire of Deceit and the Origin of America's opioid epidemic, which was part of the inspiration for the series. So I'd like to start with you there, sir, if I could, as the author of the book. How does this series sort of bring to light the Sackler family business, its role in this epidemic, and perhaps what you wanted people to really take away that they could not grasp if they haven't read the book?
Yeah. And you know what? I'd smash. Smash or pass, whoever this lady is.
Well, you know, Mika, thanks very much for having me on.
Mika, smash or pass?
You know, I think the show illuminates the story in a way that it's really never been told before. It kind of helps people understand the scope of this incredible betrayal, the crime that occurred, and it dramatizes it in a creative, fantastic way, and that's all a big credit to Pete Berg.
Okay, tell us what's going on before I have to move on, because you're pissing me off, guy.
The director, the screenwriters.
Yeah, we know that it's going to be half made up. Okay, we get it. Oh my God, I was on Instagram the other day, and Jen Psaki, the redhead that used to be the Biden press secretary. She's on MSNBC, a pundit now, aka propagandist, and and she was sitting next to Rachel Maddow. And I just got a hair up my ass, and I commented on the video. I was like, yeah, because Peppermint Patty is looking a little hot. I was like, yo, Peppermint Patty is looking pretty hot, especially sitting next to that dude. People in the MSNBC comments were angry. They were like, you're a fucking Trump supporter. You fucking hate you. That shit was so funny. Peppermint Patty. That's such a funny name for her. But they didn't like that. They you fucking idiot. You know, this dude looked like a lady. Yeah, and Rachel Maddow, who is just like the biggest liar propagandist ever. Dude look like a lady. I swear to God, Rachel Maddow does look like a man transitioning into a woman. I said it.
And what really was a fantastic cast.
Okay, bitch.
What do we learn about Richard Sackler
Thank
in
you
Matthew Broderick's performance?
for asking a
Peter?
question that matters.
Well, as Barry just said, for me, obviously I understand that OxyContin is a problem and the opioid epidemic is very real.
This guy sounds like he's on OxyContin, okay? Okay, come on.
We are in the middle of an epidemic. In fact, it's called the worst public health epidemic in our history.
What are bingo wings? What the fuck does that mean? What are bingo wings? What is that? It's rearing its head in the 90s. Bingo wings came unsurprisingly from the game Bingo. Women that have old lady, when an old lady puts her hands up and yelling bingo and flapping arm motion. Ah, gotcha. Thank you.
As 8 members of the Sackler family caused much of the opioid epidemic. And the case is shining a spotlight on the powerful family behind the drug maker.
They were all hell-bent on becoming super rich.
Imagine a medical industry that's supposed to keep a nation healthy, but becomes so completely corrupt that it causes an epidemic. This has become a reality in the United States, where opioids have caused just under 50,000 deaths per year, according to recent figures. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Countless other lives have been destroyed through addiction. In the United States, drug overdoses are the leading cause of death in people under 50. That's a lot to take in, but imagine if most of this tragedy was caused by one secretive family working behind the scenes. Once again, this is a reality. That family's name is Sackler. The Sackler family is not only partly responsible for the epidemic, but has also made a multi-billion-dollar empire from it. You may not know about them, but you've surely heard of OxyContin before. Welcome to the story of how billionaires and doctors became the drug dealers that caused an epidemic.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
Before we get into this too much, I do want to sort of give a rundown of what they're saying. And this is from, okay, so here we go. So one of the main causes of the crisis was the aggressive, misleading marketing of prescription opioids such as OxyContin by Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family who owned and controlled it. So they were making direct decisions and lying about studies and shit to push these products out onto Americans. And boy, did they, but it worked. I mean, what? It's like, of course, give freely prescribe heroin to everybody and see what happens. What's going to happen? Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family launched OxyContin, a very addictive painkiller, in 1996 and claimed that it was safe and effective for treating chronic pain with a low risk of addiction and abuse. They also paid doctors, researchers, and organizations to promote OxyContin and to downplay its dangers. They targeted vulnerable populations such as veterans, elderly, and low-income communities and flooded the market with more pills than needed. They ignored or concealed the evidence of OxyContin's harmful effects, such as addiction, overdose, and death, and denied any responsibility for the crisis. Just like all the politicians are having withdrawals from no island access. That's okay. Naders, there's 10 more islands for them. Don't worry. As soon as the Epstein Island went down, like 50 more came up. I'm sure they have plenty of options still, bud. I'm sure they're still getting theirs. As a result of Purdue Pharma, as a result of Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family's actions, millions of Americans became addicted to prescription opioids, and many of them turned to cheaper and more potent alternatives such as heroin and fentanyl, which are often mixed with other drugs without the user's knowledge. The opioid crisis has claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of Americans and has caused immense suffering and damage to individual families, communities across the country. Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family have faced thousands of lawsuits from states, cities, counties, tribes, and individuals who have accused them of fueling the opioid crisis and profiting from it. In 2020, Purdue Pharma pleaded guilty to 3 federal criminal charges and agreed to pay $8.3 billion in penalties and forfeitures. However, the Sackler family has not admitted any wrongdoing or faced any criminal charges, and they have tried to shield their wealth and assets from litigations. Many critics and advocates have argued that the settlement is not enough to hold Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family accountable for their role in the opioid crisis, and that more justice and compensation is needed for the families and victims. If Iran dropped a bomb and killed 100,000 people, yes, then we'd bomb them and clean it up. Where's the outrage? Yeah. No. And again, this sort of all funnels back to how we've created this stigma about drug addiction. When you think of drug addicts, you think of fucking losers, you think of the homeless, you think of fucking, the worst people on earth. Whereas it's the reality is that it's everybody, doctors, lawyers, fucking, moms at home addicted to fucking Adderall, like these journalists who all eat Adderall like Tic Tacs, right? It's everywhere at every level. And the thing is, I mean, as you get more money, you get access to better and more safe drugs. Whereas the people on the bottom get access to whatever the fuck was cooked up that day. So there is like this juxtaposition of quality drugs and this there's also a disparaging, is that the right word? Between the rich and the poor and what kind of access to drugs they get, right? Like they used to say cocaine was a rich man's drug. Now it's like cocaine or meth, it might have fentanyl in it. And everybody on every level gets to die from it. Like he was saying, like Jelly Roll was saying at the beginning of his testimony, is like if every day a plane crash where 180 people died every day from a plane crash, people would be freaking the fuck out. But instead, we're shamed. Drug addicts are shamed, and the stigma behind it. And there's, the only option is prison, and maybe treatment helps. But really, they don't care. It's literally just give me your money, bitch. We're fucking doing it. Do they make testers for fentanyl like the good old days? Yes, they do. They have fentanyl testing now, which is very funny because now you see like these hippies who fucking like to do drugs. They'll carry it. I've always known hippies to carry it. Like I've known hippies for a long time, and I've known a lot of hippies who carry around test strips for Molly to make sure there's like that it's the purity of Molly. But now what you see, especially at these festivals, is people before they'll do drugs, or even in certain situations, if you're just at a party, people have these test strips. Bro, the hippie mafia is real. The Rainbow family, don't fuck with them. Don't fuck with the Rainbow family, man. Those rainbow gatherings and shit, man, you gotta watch out because there's a lot of money to be made in drugs. I mean, at the end of the day, hippies are just drug dealers too. Get the fuck out of here. But yeah, there are fentanyl test strips, which I suggest anybody who is partaking in any sort of illicit drug taking activities to get yourself some strips. Whole new meaning to flower power, man. Flower power, man. So what was this? Possible profit. Okay. We talked about that. All right. So coming back to, oh my God, why do you keep doing that, you stupid asshole? Get over here. Let's see. Let's see how this video goes for a little bit. The scale of the opioid epidemic. I do kind of want to know what the scale is.
The opioid epidemic in the United States was caused by a variety of factors, but one of the main ones is the involvement of the Sackler family and their infamous opioid painkiller, OxyContin. In 2017, when over 100 people per day were dying, President Trump declared the opioid crisis a national emergency. Here's the problem. Patients are often given strong painkillers when in hospital for surgery or chronic pain. While the drugs are life-enabling for many patients to avoid excruciating pain from injury or otherwise, many fall into addiction cycles from withdrawals. Some people graduate from prescription pharmaceuticals onto cheaper and more potent alternatives like heroin or fentanyl. The cases and causes come from far and wide, but research indicates that there is a strong correlation between regions of high opioid prescription rates and high...
I get it. I get what you're saying now.
High overdose rates.
I mean, if you look at it, 4 of 5 injectable drug users started getting opioids, whether it be OxyContin, prescription or not.
4 and 5? 4 and 5? Holy shit. That is a lot. That is a lot. Jesus Christ. 4 and 5 people who get prescribed opiate-based medication are the ones who end up going and becoming drug addicts. That is
non-prescription pill taking. So there is a direct correlation between the two.
Direct.
Annually, more than 214 million prescriptions for opioid pain have been given out, with more...
Okay, so here's a good map. So this is the Bishop, shut that door, please. No, this door, the bathroom. Good to see you, bub. All right, shut that door too. So, like, here's a good map, right? So, since 1996, when OxyContin came out, here's a 2003, and this is the red is the overdoses. Oh, wow. So, the red is the 20. I don't get it. But you could see here how it's increasingly gotten worse and worse and worse with all this red. Look at all that red, especially in Florida, Ohio, Michigan. Yeah, all these places got hit by it. It was not pretty. My father fell victim to it as well, but he didn't go out and buy fucking illegal drugs. They just gave him all the drugs he wanted because he was ran over by a fucking truck. So they weren't. They were just like, you get drugs for the rest of your life, sir. But I seen it in him. Did he just sing Vita's The Seventh Element? I don't know. He might have.
More than 11 million people abusing their medication. But how did this problem get so catastrophic? Enter the Sacklers.
The Sackler.
The Sacklers pushed OxyContin to everyday people who had little use for the drug. They corrupted the entire supply chain, employing armies of sales reps, paying off doctors, lobbying for favourable regulation, and making billions while masses fell into devastating addiction. They didn't care much for the addictive properties of their drugs, they were more concerned with their bottom line. Their name is everywhere, yet not many people know about them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't even know what that is, Naders, so he's more cultured than me.
The Sackler family have invested a substantial portion of their $14 billion net worth into many museums, art galleries, and universities. The world-famous Louvre Museum in Paris has a Sackler wing. Kate Middleton was stunned when she opened the Sackler courtyard in the Victoria and Albert Museum, which consists of 11,000 handmade porcelain tiles. London's famous Gothic church, Westminster Abbey, even has a window named after the Sacklers. While the family is happy to put their name on any prestigious institution that will receive their money, it's a name that is far removed from their golden product, OxyContin. The reason why will soon be very obvious.
And you know what they say about art, right? It's a good way to launder money. Like Hunter Biden's painting got what, like $40,000 or something? Like, why the fuck would anybody want to buy Hunter Biden's paintings?
So to understand the Sacklers in full, we must first look at the Sackler story.
Okay.
The story of the Sacklers starts in 1952 when three psychiatrist brothers, Arthur, Mortimer, and Raymond, purchased a small pharmaceutical company called Purdue. Together, they co-authored over 100 research papers on the biochemistry of mental illness. Arthur Sackler doubled as an advertising pioneer in pharmaceuticals. Perhaps by using his research papers as leverage, he was the first to convince the Journal of the American Medical Association to run an ad brochure in colour. Arthur went on to make Valium the first drug to pass 100 million sales. He did this by marketing it as a drug to cover all kinds of ailments with a made-up term he called psychic tension.
Psychic tension! Making up the disease. I will say this, Valium works. It works. It does what it's supposed to do, friends. Not saying go do it. I'm not saying get prescribed on it, but I will say, and so does OxyContin for that matter. OxyContin definitely works. It does the job. You should add that music video to Nader's music moment. Okay. Where I'll have to make him Nader's music
Previously,
moment.
that kind of drug was strictly only for anxiety. So with the introduction of the invented idea of
Oh yeah, Robbie, I'll be back there on Monday. It's sheer laziness. I was trying to get Raina to stream like she said she was gonna, but she was tired. She's too pregnant for all that. So by the time that I got done trying to convince her, I was just like, I'm just gonna push stream because I'm just gonna push stream. So yes, we're back here, but probably Monday we'll be back on probably. I say probably because I have no idea how far my laziness will be. We cooler than kick anyway. I will stream one day, damn it. Okay, thank you, Raina.
Psychic tension. It could be prescribed
Hi, Robbie.
to a much
Welcome
wider
in,
market.
buddy.
Almost anyone could fit the symptoms, not just anxiety sufferers. By this stage, Arthur Sackler was inducted into the Medical Advertising Hall of Fame. During the 1980s, a recent movement in medicine was taking place. It was called hospice. The hospice sector takes care of the terminally ill and end-of-life patients. Around this time, the Sacklers company Purdue would release a morphine-based pill called MS-Contin that could help cancer patients sleep. In the hospice market, addiction wasn't an issue because the patients would soon pass.
Right.
Purdue would take this concept one step further. They would release MS-Contin for general use.
Oh.
Unfortunately, MS-Contin would be the precursor to the drug that would help create an epidemic. In the United States, MS-Contin became the benchmark for pain relief among cancer patients. During the 1980s, several papers and articles claimed that the link between opioids and addiction was minimal and previously overstated. A letter published to the New England Journal of Medicine stated that the risk of addiction was less than 1%. Even though this letter was later retracted by the author, it didn't stop over 600 citations of the letter in medical journals. The misinformation had already spread, and it was difficult to stop. Advertising genius and co-founder of Purdue, Arthur Sackler, had a nephew named Richard. Richard would later become the president of Purdue, but got his start as a research scientist in the company. Richard would constantly be brainstorming ideas, trying to find new uses for MS-Contin. Much like his uncle Arthur, he was heavily interested in the commercial and marketing side of the business. Purdue's former executive director of product management recalled that Richard didn't always wait for the research results. Richard Sackler would later become the president of the company in 1999 and co-chair in 2003. His uncle and father became the co-CEOs of Purdue. Within Purdue, Richard was an avid micromanager. He would send out bulletins which halfway through read, "If you're reading this, call my secretary," and he would leave secret passwords in the text. Based on which sales reps called the secretary and delivered the password, Richard would know.
Yeah, I mean, because you gotta know it. You gotta know it at least 3 times. But it's funny. Botrix got it wrong. Botrix got it wrong. Oh my God, this one gives you hours. Oh yeah, I guess yeah. Stream elements. All right. Wow. Look at these. Look at all these bots, guys. Look at these bots. Oh my God.
Know exactly who was reading the bulletins and who wasn't. During the 1990s, the company realized that they needed to do something about MS content. The patent was set to expire by the end of the decade. In addition, the use of morphine as an end-of-life medication stigmatized the drug from being more widely available. The company moved to make a new drug called OxyContin, with the active ingredient oxycodone replacing the morphine. Many doctors falsely believed that oxycodone was weaker than morphine. The truth was, the active ingredient in OxyContin, oxycodone, was in fact 50% stronger than morphine. Later, in an unpublished study by Purdue in 1999, the company found that the addiction rate was 13%, not 1%. The FDA even approved a claim that OxyContin's delayed absorption would reduce the probability of abuse. The FDA examiner who was involved in the approval of this claim left the FDA shortly and within 2 years had accepted a role at Purdue. Sadly, this move hints at corruption. In 2015,
I like that they say sadly before they drop the bombs on you. Sadly, this is the precursor to OxyContin. Sadly, this means corruption. Duh. And this was the whole thing, right? Like, this was the whole thing during the whole vaccination thing with the Pfizer stuff. It's like, we're supposed to trust that they're not just making shit up just to sell their product like they always do and always have. They've always done this. Always. And we're supposed to just accept whatever they say.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Fuck you. Pay me.
Thank you, Pfizer.
2015, Purdue was granted FDA approval to market the drug to children as young as 11.
God damn!
Almost immediately after OxyContin was released, the cases of addiction became apparent. But rather than admit their drug was addictive, the company simply blamed people for not taking the drug as directed. Even Purdue themselves had to fire one of their secretaries after she became addicted to OxyContin.
What? One of their own employees got addicted to it. God damn, man. Evil demons.
The question has to be asked, why was the use and abuse of OxyContin so widely spread? Well, it wasn't by accident. The company knew exactly what they were doing. Purdue's strategy for marketing their new drug, OxyContin, began in 1995. First, the company focused the drug on the same market as MS-Contin, cancer patients. The move was made to win wide regulatory acceptance and the integration of the drug into medical programs. The company began their targeted advertisements on health professionals. During this stage, sales representatives were encouraged to lie about the addictive nature of the drug.
That our best, strongest pain medicines are the opioids, but these are the same drugs that have a reputation for causing addiction and other terrible things. Now, in fact, the rate of addiction amongst pain patients who are treated by doctors is much less than 1%.
It's much less than 1%. And look, it's a doctor who's saying it. He's an MD.
They don't wear out, they go on working. They do not have serious medical side effects. And so these drugs...
You might not shit for a month and you might not ever wake up. But pretty safe.
Which I repeat are our best, strongest pain medications, should be used much more than they are for patients in pain.
And they should be given to 11-year-olds. He has a British accent, everybody. We can trust him. He's a doctor with a British fucking accent. My man! My dad used to get the 20s, and I would steal them.
Then things got really dirty.
But those 80s, boy.
He then began paying off all the links in the
those 160s. Ooh, thank God for weed to help me get it out. Yeah, for sure. I'm mixing lemon cherry gelato and modified grape. It'll drop a horse. Yes, I like that.
Supply chain. Distributors were guaranteed rebates. Pharmacists were given refunds, and patients were given coupons for starter supplies. Academia also got their share in grants.
Damn, so they were just paying doctors and shit to prescribe this, is basically what they're saying.
Medical journals were even making money from advertising the drug. Politicians were given campaign donations from both Purdue and the Sackler family. But the most important link in the whole chain was the doctors. After all, they were the ones who used their discretion on what to prescribe patients. Purdue had speaking events where doctors would be flown in to so-called seminars, which were essentially golfing trips. Thousands of clinicians were paid to speak at conferences on the company's behalf. Prominent doctors on the Purdue payroll played down the effects of opioids, calling them a gift from nature, and stated that the notion that opioids caused addiction was a medical myth. During a 9-year stretch from 2006 to 2015, Purdue and other drug manufacturers in the industry had spent almost $900 million in political payments and lobbying.
Sounds familiar. Oh yeah, you do need a balance. You need to go get yourself something strong. You and Naders need to hook up and get that lemon cherry gelato modified grape going, baby. Oh, I'm about to go help my friend launch a YouTube channel where he's going to be going through his cloning and creating, because he's creating his own seeds right now. So I'm going to be helping on that channel. So hopefully I can share some with you guys on the journey of clones, and he's like deep into it. He's got the he's mixed pollinating and stuff. So he's like going crazy. I have a few seeds to offer. Well, he's trying to create new ones. He's like, I'm trying to create new breeds that are just the best. He wants to, because Ohio is legal now, he wants to turn Ohio into a powerhouse. He said, same, bro. Same, bro. I'm on that shit. So we're going to be starting a YouTube channel. Probably won't be launched for a while, but I'm going to help him get it up. Yes. Ohio is fully recreational now, although they are trying to eliminate homegrown. You can't grow your own. They're trying to keep it just to dispensaries, of course, because why would corporations want you to be able to create your own? There's some other shit that's so crazy, which it's going directly against what the people want. So it's kind of bullshit. I was kind of happy about Maryland's. They let you grow your own, but cost skyrocket at the well, that's any excuse to charge more money.
Purdue lobbied and encouraged regulations that required doctors to ask patients to rate their pain on a scale of 1 to 10. This gave them a more quantifiable.
Yeah, that's how they do it. They take off 10%, but raise it up 30. That's like the oldest trick in the book, though, right? Like, that's what they do. They say it's 20% off a 50% markup.
And tangible reason to prescribe opioids. The company was trying to make OxyContin a viable treatment for non-cancer patients. An excerpt from Esquire, who did a piece on the Sacklers, reads, "The company rebranded pain relief as a sacred right."
Jesus, 120, that's no good. That's not good. At least my medical card lets me skip the lines, so when it's out the door, it's help. Hey, fucking A, baby. Yeah, the medical cards will get you a discount and access to higher grade edibles in Michigan. I don't know how it's going to work out here in Ohio. But as of right now, we can start growing. I can't grow myself, but I'm not here in this fucking apartment. But as soon as I get my house, it's over. It's over. We have a potency tax. The weed was 50%. A potency tax. What? Damn. It's fucking ridiculous. Can we just get like a federal law that's passed that just makes it all like open game for everyone? Can we just stop with all this bullshit? Can we just stop with and you know that it was I'm pretty sure it was Purdue Pharma who worked really hard to not allow weed to be legalized in a lot of states. I'm pretty sure it was Purdue. Was it Purdue? We better make sure. God damn it. Was it Purdue Purdue Pharma lobbies against legal marijuana. Pretty sure it was. Yeah, so Big Pharma. This is The Guardian. This is 7 years ago. Marijuana legalization. No, I don't want to. I'll do it later. I don't think Purdue. Maybe it wasn't Purdue. It's bullshit. I can't take my Maryland weed into DC or vice versa when I live 20. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Okay. All right. Well, then I don't see any evidence that was Purdue. So in any case, these companies are still fighting against that shit. It's gross. It's gross. Sounds like such a douche. A douche. All right.
A universal narcotic entitlement available not only to the terminally ill, but to every American. By 2001, annual OxyContin sales had surged past $1 billion.
Woo!
Business was booming. In the 5-year period between 1996 and 2001, in the United States, OxyContin grew from 300,000 prescriptions to almost 6 million.
Jesus. And my dad was one of them. I have friends. We all got swept up right in that same time period. The only thing that saved me from getting caught in the vicious circle here was living in California, where OxyContins they were available, but we were trying to get away from them. They weren't, we could still get them, but they were expensive. What we found was some fire black tar heron. That's what we got addicted to out there. But I missed it here because at the peak of it, from 2006 to 2014 or something, the peak was crazy. Another thing that led to this huge rise in fentanyl, and I remember reading this earlier when I was sort of researching this topic, is that with the crackdown on OxyContin and the crackdown on these legal prescribed opiates, it opened up a market for cheaper chemicals to come in and replace it. So cheaper, like as in fentanyl and heroin. There was a vacuum for it, right? Because once you take something off the market and you make it harder to get, it doesn't mean that people are like going to stop wanting it. So they just went and found whatever was cheaper. Honestly, when you're paying $1 per milligram, like those 80s, those little tiny OxyContin 80s were $80 or even more. It's wild. Like Robbie Gross, but different. You got it, baby.
Opioid abuse cases began rising to the surface, and studies would show direct correlations between the location of the cases and the volume of opioid prescriptions in that area.
Right, Florida and Ohio were part of that.
Purdue even targeted poor areas with high labor work. The higher instances of workplace injury led to high uses of OxyContin. The company also recorded information about prescription quantities that individual doctors were writing. Sadly, this was so that the sales reps would have a better idea of which doctors to target. Like casinos targeting clients that would spend the most, Purdue was targeting doctors that would prescribe the most.
People trust their doctor and they think that the doctor is prescribing things appropriately and monitoring them appropriately, and they think that if the bottle says take it in such a way that it's perfectly okay to do that.
It is now possible to find regions in the country where the amount of prescriptions is more than the actual population of the region. Doctors would be arrested in the hundreds for running clinics which prescribed pills to patients without a legitimate reason. These were often called pill mills.
And these pill mills would be like in Florida, there was pill mills where you would go, you would get your doctor's prescription, and then they had a pharmacy on site, and you would take your prescription straight to the pharmacy on site, grab your pills. There was like, they would have these trips to Florida. Like you would have people who would what are those buses? Like those buses for transporting people. Like when you would go to Florida for your incoming ad break in 5 minutes. Snooze that shit. Fuck you. Oh, fuck these ads. They would actually charter buses down to Florida and do like tours, do like pill mill tours, and go and grab their fucking, like go to different doctors and get prescribed these drugs. And again, my father was caught up in the middle of this 2006 on, man. And that was when I was in California, but they just kept giving him more and more and more. I mean, my dad died with an addiction to opiates, I'm sure. I mean, because he was always in pain. Again, ran over. You're not going to get past the pain of that. All right, what are you doing, whore? Don't be a whore.
The Purdue Company not only knew what they were doing, but they were happy about it. The company's memos between sales reps read, "Dollars, dollars, dollars. It's bonus time in the neighborhood." Some of the better sales reps were earning six-figure commissions, with the company paying out $40 million in bonuses in 2001. But for the Sackler family and Purdue, things weren't going to stay so rosy. By this stage, there was mounting criticism of OxyContin, but Purdue still managed to make things even worse. The effects of OxyContin were supposed to last 12 hours, enough for a good night's rest. However, often the effects are only present for 8 hours.
Or even
now,
4.
Purdue could have done one of two things: increase the frequency of the dose, or increase the dosage and increase the potential for addiction. They did the latter. Sales reps were strictly instructed to inform doctors to increase the dosage amounts instead of the frequency. This created the perfect cycle for addiction. The increased dosage would make the patient feel the effects of withdrawal for a short period, and then they would have to take another pill to put them at ease again. This led patients down the slope of being prescribed more than they needed. As their tolerances grew, they fell deeper into addiction.
Every night on the news, you'd hear of someone dying in the state or in other states because of OxyContin. And it was so addictive. And they knew that. Pharmaceuticals knew that.
To bring this home, I have to show you the real impact of opioid withdrawal from the inside. With this, you can gain an empathetic view and understand why so many people don't make it out.
Family time is something Travis Reeder does not take for granted. The Johns Hopkins University bioethics professor soaks up every moment he can. That's because 2 years ago, prescription opioids stole a chapter of his life. 2015, a serious motorcycle accident left Travis with a crushed foot. He would have 6 surgeries,
henceforth a lobbyist,
including a transplant from his thigh, requiring large amounts of pain medication.
Was at a follow-up doctor's appointment with the initial trauma surgeon, the guy who saved the foot, and he's the one who's asked me about my pain level and my drugs, and he's like, "Oh, you're on a lot of opioids. You probably need to think about getting off them."
Travis says his doctor suggested he begin weaning off of the drugs over 4 weeks. He says 3 days in, he was going through serious withdrawal.
I felt like I got the flu. My temperature kind of went haywire. I couldn't sleep very well.
She watched him get worse every day.
Uncontrollable crying, very often. He would just burst into tears, he couldn't sleep.
Travis reached out to more than a dozen of his doctors. Some told him to take stool softeners and drink lots of water. But no one could tell him how to get out of the withdrawal hell he was in.
I'm really in trouble here. I'm feeling really bad. I said, well, if it's that bad, go back on the drugs.
Travis says he is not anti-opioids and believes they do have a place, but doctors need to prescribe them with a plan.
The failure was in not following up, never telling me what to look forward to.
In my experience, opioid withdrawal was the worst feeling I've ever had, hands down. I have vivid memories of being sick in my bed sweating with the covers on and freezing with the covers off. I was constantly sick. I vomited almost every single morning. It's something that I would never want to go back to.
Hell no.
You can die. Straight up.
Hell no. Never again. Never again. That shit sucked.
As time went on, Purdue would go on to face many class action lawsuits in regard to their practices with the drug. Often the company settled, awarding plaintiffs millions. In 2004, Purdue was sued for deceptive marketing, as the drugs were meant to last 12 hours, but
Thanks, Robbie. I appreciate you, brother.
lasted much less. The company settled the suit for $10 million, sealing the case under confidentiality and admitting no wrongdoing or changing any practices. Purdue always avoided any Sacklers testifying under oath. They always reached a settlement just as they were going to be called upon. In 2007, the company faced a suit from the federal government in which Purdue was charged for a criminal felony of purposefully pushing misconceptions about OxyContin. Purdue acknowledged that they knew about the misconceptions doctors had about their drug and actively exploited it for profits. This settlement cost Purdue $600 million. Even though a lot of the Sackler family were on the board and Richard Sackler had a direct hand in operations, the Sackler family name appeared nowhere in the 89-page guilty plea. However, the Sackler name did appear on an agreement attached to the plea, which would mean that the government wouldn't go after any of the listed entities related to the Sackler family. The company's eagerness to settle was in order to avoid anything going on the public record, especially anything from the Sacklers themselves. The family's only testimony on the topic came in 2015 from Richard. Sealed from public view for 4 years and only released in 2009, the testimony showed that Richard Sackler knew about the dangers of OxyContin. In 2001, after it was reported that 59 people died from OxyContin overdoses, his email to executives read, "That is not too bad. It could have been far worse."
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
By 2010, Purdue had...
What a fucking asshole. Hey, that's not bad. 51, hey, what are you gonna do? Hey, it's only 51 people who died. 51 families torn apart forever. Hey, no big deal. Hey. My brother-in-law had his spinal column fused, and he takes it personal when we try to talk about him getting off drugs, getting off pills. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very difficult situation, man. I mean, people don't want to admit that they're drug addicts. Again, there's a stigma behind being drug addicts. You know, like he's probably a good man who fucking works and does, you know, right by his family. And then he had back injuries and it's wild, you know. Now he's an addict. And, you know, I remember talking to my father about it, and I remember he admitted it. He was like, yeah, if I don't have my pills, I'm an asshole. Like, I just know that's how it is. So it's really rough, man, especially when it's the people you love. Sharika, 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 Sharika. Sharika, Sharika.
Realized that they need to address the issue facing them. So, they created a new formula for their pill which was harder to snort or inject. After the reformulation, a study was conducted.
Yo, that's shit, dude. Yeah, he was fucking in the army, right? Or in the armed forces and parachuting. My buddy suffers so bad. He was a what was it? A packer? What do they call it? He was a parachute guy, and he still has horrible pain problems. And he refuses to take any kind of opiates or any kind of pain pills for it because he's like, fuck that. I'm not going to become dependent on that shit. Which is, you know, which is a awesome sentiment of him. You know, it's a beautiful part about him is that he refuses to get on there. Because again, this is my friend, and we've had the same friend circle, and we have friends who died and stuff. And yeah, man, it's not cool. So yeah, I get it, man. I get it. I get it from a personal level. I get it from cursory level. I get it from just straight up experience. It's fucking tough. It is so tough, and it's awful to go through. And I have to admit, Raina was one of the biggest reasons why I got sober. I don't know where I'd be without her. So it's rough, man. It's rough. It's hard, but people can do it. You can do it. Anybody who's out there, it can be done. It's just wanting to take that step and realizing where you're at, because it's really hard for people to be especially if you're like a hardworking person who was in the military and shit and like served your country. It's like, it's hard for people to admit that they had this monkey on their back, and because it's seen as this weakness. But anybody can succumb to it. Anybody could fall under this. It's not. And my dad was so against drugs, he barely drank. Like if we were at a concert and someone started smoking weed next to us, he would be like, fucking stop smoking weed next to me. You know, like he was so against drugs. But yeah, by the time all was said and done, he was a drug addict, and he admitted it. He was like, fuck it. This is just who I am. I can't be, out here fucking in pain, which, in my dad's case, he was half bionic and in metal, so I can get why he would just be a lifer until he ended up passing. So, I understand that a bit. Anyways, yeah, addiction, baby.
That found a third of users switched to other drugs, and of those, a further 70% began using heroin. It appears that this reformulation simply increased the rate that people turned to cheaper and harder opioids. This was shown by the significant increase in cases post-2010.
Probably everybody started like that, because that's how you're introduced to the drugs, is by pills, and then little by little, it's like your money gets tight and you're just like, well, where could I get something close to this but cheaper? And then it's heroin, I do sort of think that those pharmaceutical...
Dude, watching that is giving me fucking the yuckies. I remember the first time I saw someone shoot up in front of me. It was the most disgusting thing I had ever seen in my life. I was like, that is gross. And it was my friend, and she fucking she blew out all her veins shooting up, and so she only had one vein, and her stepmom was helping her shoot up, and she's like, I need your help, mom. And she came over and fucking shot her up in here. And I remember seeing the blood pull back into the syringe and being pushed it. I was so disgusted. And so me and my friend went and smoked a bunch of heroin to get past it. we had to go freebase a bunch of heroin just so we could get past that awful image in their head. Sex that jobs were okay with people being on pills. Yeah, exactly. I get it too with metal rods in my back. Yeah, Robbie, you understand. You see how it is. I'm sure getting off of opiates wasn't easy for you, and I'm sure you were prescribed on them, because what else do they give you? My mom just had a surgery. They gave her opiates, but my mom is so anti-drugs, and like she don't like being high or anything. She'll have one drink and be done, like she don't like to drink. Both my parents were so fucking straightforward, straight edge. Hey, Gene, what's going on? Hello, Gene. How are you? I am Stephen Hawking. Take me to your children. Okay, I don't know. Mean Green. Welcome in, my friend. Thank you for stopping by before bed. I appreciate you. Yeah. So my mom is like so against it, but she'll just take. They gave her. Why are you gay? I don't have children. It doesn't matter. Any child will do. Codeine and Demerol, and got addicted right away. Yeah. Oh yeah. Real easy. Demerol is, oof, that's a strong one right there, boy. Codeine is too, but like Demerol, boing. Yeah, that's tough shit, man. And this again, it's how this shit happened. It's so funny that I was so grossed out by my friend shooting up in front of me that I ended up being such a fucking needle hound myself. It was disgusting. I mean, they removed my entire spine. So I needed it. It's still. God damn! How do they remove a spine? How does that work? Fuck. All right, guys. There's gonna be a fucking shitty ad break in like a minute. So Just so you guys know, moved it, not removed it. Oh, okay. God damn, that's crazy. Eating a bacon burger, right? Bacon burger before bed or bust. Mighty. I am Stephen Hawking. Take me to your children. I'm sorry, that's such a bad joke. I got bruised ribs and broken toe, sprained ankle, and weed lets me forget about the pain. Look at that. Yeah, weed is a great alternative, and that's why pharmaceutical companies were working so hard to keep it under wraps and keep it from being legal in all these states. We're still fighting them. All right, guys, ad break now. We're on an ad break. Yeah, we're on an ad break. Okay, so we'll watch it. Not bad. Not bad for my schedule now. Oh, Gene, nice. I'm not sure if you're seeing an ad, so I'll ask you in a minute what's going on. But what's your time? What are you working now, Gene?
Companies do play a big role in that.
Purdue's actions went a step further. As the OxyContin patent was nearing its end, Purdue, with an apparent sudden change of heart, stunningly lobbied that the drug was prone to abuse and that no other companies should be allowed to remake it. In 2013, the FDA agreed. No generic copies of OxyContin were to be made.
English after the segment. Can I show Sharika's new song here? I know you have to let me do that before. If not, no big deal. Oh yeah, no problem. Ad break ends in 30 seconds. Okay, whoever's getting an ad break. Sorry guys, I don't know who's getting an ad break. Okay, fuck it then. No ad breaks. That's awesome. Fuck those ads. Yeah, I didn't get the ad. 12 to 10:30 p.m. So you're at work right now? Are you on break or something? Or are you off? Oh, I spoke too early. It was just saving me for the 30 seconds, but I will take that over the 90 seconds. Let's go. Yeah, Robbie, if you can hear me, I don't mind at all. We'll do it after this segment, which is almost over here. And we'll probably just do this segment today because we spent so much time on it. But next Monday, which will be back on Kick, I don't know if you guys are on. No, I work Saturday to Tuesday for now. Sick. Nice. And today is Friday, so hey. Right on, Gene. Yeah, if you guys haven't followed me on Kick, get your asses over there and follow me on Kick because we're going to be going back to Kick after this nice vacation over here on Twitch. But the vacation. It's only a vacation because it's so much easier for me. But I am determined to get monetized on Kick. Okay? I'm going to get monetized. Okay, cool. Can we pin this? How do we pin this so I don't lose it? Pin. Because it's going to get lost in chat probably, maybe. We'll find it. All right.
But Purdue's version of OxyContin remained on the market.
Okay.
This simply meant that no other competitors could make their own versions of the drug. So what looked like a rare noble act from Purdue was simply a cunning act to move to secure a few more years of competition-free selling of their billion-dollar baby, OxyContin. With its trail of destruction ruining large sections of the American population, Purdue appears to be moving to other markets. Markets with fewer regulations would be a simple way for the Sacklers to keep milking their cash cow. In 2016, an LA Times investigation into Purdue's child company, Mundy Pharma, suggested that it's gearing up to take on international markets with their drug. In response, US lawmakers wrote a letter to the World Health Organization warning the intents of the company owned by the Sackler family.
Yeah, so now they're moving their billion-dollar empire overseas because they fucking raped and pillaged our entire fucking country here. So, yeah, thanks, Purdue Pharma. Yes, and the Seventh Element also. We will listen to those. Okay, so let's, now that we've gotten there, let's finish out Jelly Roll's speech here. because they need more of that sweet, sweet billions. Yeah, I mean, at the cost of human life, fuck it, right? I mean, that's what that's what Lockheed Martin is, right? Lockheed Martin's is like, fuck it, we're just gonna go ahead and murder everyone, and fuck it, we'll make billions off it, baby. Little Man got the song stuck in my head. That's what you get, Naders. That's what you get. Well, but yeah, don't let me forget.
I'm here to tell y'all that fentanyl is going to make the Sackler family look like saints. And I want to let.
And now that we know about the Sackler family, we get his reference of what Jelly Roll is saying in front of the U.S. Senate. Again, Jelly Roll used to be a rapper. Now he is a country singer and now advocating for reform on fentanyl.
Let y'all sit with that for a second. It is time for us to be proactive and not reactive. We were reactive with crack. We were reactive.
Why is that? Why is everybody looking at him like he's a fucking freak? I mean, I get it. He has shit all over his face. He looks at his teeth are fucking rotted out of his mouth. But why? Like, well, look at all these looks that these guys are so rude.
Y'all sit with that for a second.
Watch. Look at this guy. Like, he's like, I don't give a fuck. I get money from them. I get money every time fucking somebody brings fentanyl over the border, bitch. We're all getting paid off this shit.
It is time for us to be proactive and not reactive. We were reactive with crack. We were reactive with opioids.
Right. And again, he mentioned earlier in the speech about crack and how that was an epidemic in the 80s and 90s that destroyed communities, which another product of our government pushing crack into communities, selling cocaine in communities. Freeway Rick Ross, Los Angeles, working directly with the feds, pushing drugs upon cocaine and crack on his own community. Mr. Tester looks a bit testy. I know, he's a fucking cunt. Anyways, but yeah, you know, like this is beneficial. You know, these drugs are beneficial to people. It keeps people incapacitated, right? And because they're incapacitated, they can't use their rights to vote. They can't do shit, right? All they can do is just sit there, try to get more drugs and end up in prison and feed the industrial prison complex. And of course, there's the whole like drug treatment complex, which frankly should be more prevalent. It's actually, they struggle for funding constantly. It's hard for these institutions to get funding because the money's not in the cure. It's in the fucking it's on the comeback, right? Like when you give someone a sample. I remember as a drug dealer, I give someone a sample of drugs. Like, hey, check this out. And then it's all about the comeback. It's all about the comeback. You don't want them getting better. You want them to come back. You know who votes blue. And also, which is a good point, Naders, is a lot of people tend to vote for, if they do vote or care to vote, they tend to vote more blue because of those supplemental programs that are given through welfare and such that help with drug addiction. Some states, if you have to take a piss test in order to get benefits. So it's you know, it all feeds into something, right? People are always benefiting off of someone else's pain when it comes to you know, the corporate mindset. You've got fat white dude with tattoos all over his face being like, hey man, drugs are bad, man. Man, drugs are bad, man. Yeah, I get it. I get why people are just looking at it, but like he like took time out of his life. He has influence on people. They should at least take him seriously. What the fuck are you doing, you son of a bitch?
And y'all are taking the first step at somebody in Senate finally being proactive. I truly believe in my heart that this bill, that this bill will stop the supply and can help stop the supply of fentanyl. But in part of being proactive, gentlemen and women and ladies, I have to be frank and tell y'all that if we don't talk to the other side of Capitol Hill and stop the demand, we are going to spin our tires in the mud. Y'all are taking the first step, but I encourage you to take it outside of this room, and you take it to your colleagues and your constituents, and you give them the most that you can.
Agreed. And listen, he's fucking, like, he's heartfelt. This is a heartfelt speech. California outlawed plastic straws, but have state-funded buildings on every corner handing out syringes. Yeah, that's true too. And they have such a high drug rate in California too. I mean, I know it's more people live there, but like, none of their policies that they've done has actually helped anybody. They've only done like band-aids, right? They just put band-aids on it and kick the problem down the road, right? They kick the can down the road for someone else to deal with, because these politicians, they get voted in and voted out, and they're trying to make as much money and get as far ahead as possible while they're in office. Unless they're deep state like Robbie's dad. But yeah, the other thing that's interesting is that New York situation. I know it's been amplified by Elon Musk, and the conservative media has sort of ran with it, and it wasn't as crazy as it was, but it was the start of some. Is that we have homeless people who need help, drug addicts on the streets who need help. But now we have a lot of migrants coming over, asylum seekers, is what all they have to say is that they're seeking asylum, and they're in, and we're giving schools, and this happened in New York, we're giving schools to migrants, or we let migrants stay in schools because they ran out of hotels and they ran out of tents or something, and the kids were pushed to at-home learning. So they had to be online so migrants could be housed. And this only happened for one night, and they were out by morning, but apparently the district is keeping people in remote learning for some reason for a little bit longer. So it's weird that we even put people who aren't even a part of this country ahead of drug addicts who need help. The people who need the most help get overlooked every single time. And that's why you have these black folks in these poor communities and black and brown and from all these different communities speaking out about this migrant crisis, is because their resources are being pulled to cover this huge influx of Democratic voters. So it's really interesting, right? But I don't want to get too far off topic. I'm just ranting a little bit about the migrant crisis. Okay, bitch, I'll go over here and push play.
I know I've got a few seconds here, and Senator Brown said I may or may not go over. All I want to say is that I not only encourage y'all to do this, I encourage y'all to take it a step further. At every concert I perform, I witness the heartbreaking impact of fentanyl. I see fans grappling with this tragedy in the form of music, that they seek solace in music and hope that their experiences won't befall others. They crave reassurance. These are the people I'm here to speak for, y'all. These people crave reassurance that their elected officials actually care more about human life than they do about ideology and partisanship. I stand here as a regular member of society. I am a stupid songwriter, y'all, but I have firsthand witnessed this in a way most people have not. I encourage y'all to not only pass this bill, but I encourage you to bring it up where it matters, at the kitchen table. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. D. Ford.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Robbie. I mean,
out-of-warranty cars need the CarCheck's guarantee. A breakdown could...
Shut the fuck up. Absolutely, Robbie. I'm totally with that, man. Like, it's a... you can't judge people by you can't judge a book by the cover. Like, that dude, obviously he's educated by the streets, and he's fucking, he's made a life for himself, and he's self-made as a felon. And he obviously got to that point for a reason. He's not an idiot. And just by listening to him, you can tell he's not stupid. He's a very intelligent human being and should be treated as such. So when you see assholes in the court or these senators just staring at him like they're looking at some sideshow freak. It's like, fuck you, dude. Like, you don't know what his fucking past was. How dare you judge? I'm so happy they allow felons to speak before. Yeah, right, Robbie. At least they allow them to speak before fucking Congress. They can't vote or get life insurance. He did that to himself. Yeah, he did that to himself. That is true. Rapper turned country singer Jelly Roll spoken on the importance of prioritizing the fentanyl crisis. Jelly Roll urged Congress to pass Brown's Fentanyl Eradication and Narcotics Deterrence Off Fentanyl Act, which is the Fend Off Fentanyl Act, which would wield financial sanctions against drug traffickers to disrupt the flow of opioids coming in from China and Mexico, which is a big deal too, because China and Mexico, anyways, I'm just wondering how they can, what are they going to do with that? Oh God, look at that. That's nothing. Okay. I want to know what's up with, so hold on. What's the relationship between Mexico and China in relation to the fentanyl crisis in America? You broke the matrix. I did. Here we go. Let's see what AI tells us about this. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. The relationship. It's complex. China is the main source of fentanyl. Okay, so I had that right. China is the main source of fentanyl and its precursor chemicals, which are used to produce the synthetic opioid in Mexico by the drug cartels, such as the Sinaloa cartel. The cartels then smuggle the fentanyl across the border into the U.S., where it's mixed with other drugs, such as heroin, cocaine, meth, and sold to users. Fentanyl, yeah, we know that. However, the relationship between Mexico and China is not static, and it has been affected by various factors, such as law enforcement and policy actions of the United States and China, the market dynamic and consumer preferences, and drug trade. In 2019, China announced that it would ban all forms of fentanyl and its analogs, and increase the regulation and control of fentanyl-related substances. The move was welcomed by the U.S., which had long pressured China into crack down on the fentanyl production and export. However, some experts and officials have questioned the effectiveness and implementation of China's ban and have pointed out the challenges of identifying and scheduling new fentanyl variants and precursors, which are constantly changing and evolving. Right, we have like super fentanyl now. And China's not... Here's the thing. They're going to tighten the regulations in their own country, but they are going to push cool. Thank you. China is playing the long game. Yeah, exactly, Naders. And so China is pushing these products over here, and they know they're going to make money off of it. And here's the thing about China is that corporations and fucking organized crime and government all just sort of intermingle, right? It all intermingles. So you know that the government's getting paid off of the drugs and the precursors they're sending over to the cartels in Mexico. Also, if your enemy is all fucked up and high and dying off of drugs, then that makes them weaker, which is part of the plan, right? They're trying to weaken the United States in any way possible. They're trying with these BRICS shit, the BRICS currency. They're trying to weaken. It's all trying to weaken the United States. Which they're doing a really good fucking job. Chinese TikTok made our Chinese TikTok made our military gay.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons. The Mexican cartels also adapted to the changes of fentanyl supply chains, started to produce their own fentanyl precursors, which they've always been able to produce their own shit. They've also diversified their drug portfolio and increased the production and trafficking of synthetic drugs. Danka. At least our military is happy now. Yeah. We have a very happy military now. Oh, Lord.
Why are you gay?
The pandemic. Okay. Is China trying to weaken the U.S. by flooding the market with fentanyl? Let's see what it says. It's German for thanks. Yes, I know. I'm aware. Dude, and I fucking love Germans right now. The fucking Germans are going... Have you guys seen what the Germans are doing right now? They're just like throwing shit at government. They're like dumping shit. Fuck yeah, dude. Go Deutschland. Go Deutschland. They fucking are dumping shit on the front steps of these municipal buildings. They're just using their tractors to drive over shit. It is badass. It is badass. Way to go, Germany. Fucking keep it up. Keep fucking fighting the good fight. Fuck these anti-human cunts. There is no definitive answer for this question, as different sources may have different perspectives. Based on web results, okay, we'll see what this says. China is the main source of fentanyl and the precursors chemicals. Yeah, we know that. We know that. Who then smuggle it in? And it is responsible for a majority of drug overdoses and deaths in the U.S. Therefore, one could argue that China is indirectly weakening the U.S. by flooding the market with fentanyl, whether intentionally or unintentionally. However, China has also taken some steps to cooperate with the U.S. and other countries to combat fentanyl. Of course they would do that. Alternatively, one could also consider the broader geopolitical and economic context of the relationship between China and the U.S. and how fentanyl crisis may affect the interests and strategies. For example, one could examine how fentanyl crisis may impact the U.S. domestic stability, public health, social cohesion, and national security, and how China may benefit or suffer from these outcomes. One could also analyze how the fentanyl crisis may influence the U.S.'s foreign policy, trade relations, and global leadership, and how China might respond and challenge these actions. Reminds me of the farmer that had protesters on his land, so he sprayed liquid manure around it. Amazing. What up, Robbie? Good shit. Dude, the Germans are killing it right now. They're fucking killing it right now. I fucking love it. Okay, so let's wrap up this shit. Dude, unintentional. Oh my God. 110,000 Americans died due to unintentional drug overdoses in 2022. So these numbers are crazy. Just like in the 40s. Hell yeah. Let's go. Jelly Roll. Oh yeah, we knew that. So yeah, it's really interesting where we're at with all this, and Jelly Roll, and the fact that it takes a musician to go out, and I guess it did. I don't know. I missed the joke. So I wanted to sort of wrap things up and give and talk a little bit about what's going on with Purdue Pharma now. As of last month, Purdue. So I keep calling it Purdue. It's not 110,000. That less than alcohol. Well, alcohol is more accessible, right? Drugs. If you want to get drugs. Oh, okay. Oh, wah, wah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it now. Oh, man. I've been calling Purdue Pardue. Purdue is not the same as Pardue the institution, the learning institution, very different. Purdue. Thanks, Rob. Poor chickens. Wait, what was the thing that I wanted to? Only 100,000. How many people die of alcohol a year, I wonder? Since alcohol is so prevalent, you know. Alcohol. That's what the Sackler family is saying. It's less than alcohol. Alcohol deaths per year. Let's see what it has. Oh, look at their AI. More than 140,000 deaths. So there you go. And more males die. So listen. You want equality, women? Start drinking more and dying if you want real equality. All right? Because it's the men who's putting in the work to die from alcohol poisoning or related deaths. How much by weed? Too? Is there? And I feel like if there is death by weed, it's only because someone ate a bunch of edibles and then ran into a building or something, you know? Death by marijuana per year. Let's see. 2 cases in 2012, no case in 2013. In 2014, although reports do not indicate whether cannabis exposure. Yeah, I'm guessing that the 2 people who died was probably in the same car as they drove off a cliff because they're too high to be driving. Millions of people can create alcohol. Purdue creates one thing by itself that kills millions. Yes, I am the most high. So, what is it? Big pharma's fight to block recreational marijuana. Yeah, we know they do that, don't they? So let's listen to this. I'd smash. She's a little older, but she still looks good. What's up? Let's see what this hooker has to say here. I don't know.
Get immunity from future lawsuits. Here in Washington, the fate of a multi-billion-dollar settlement for victims of the opioid epidemic hangs in the balance. The Supreme Court heard arguments this morning over whether the Sackler family, the former owners of Purdue Pharma, should get immunity from future lawsuits. CBS's Jan Crawford reports on a case that some are calling billionaire justice.
I am on a smash run. This woman looks like the Karen who told the Tetris champion to touch grass. Yeah, she does, but, you know, she looks like she could be like an ice queen, right? They're fun. If you're going to do something, be the best. Exactly. I don't really, I guess I don't know the story. I wouldn't even give her the one thing to make her stop talking. Fair enough.
We want justice. We want the Sacklers in jail, but we want their money.
Cheryl Juer lost 2 sons to opioids and holds Purdue Pharma.
She said, we want justice, but we really just want their money. Fair enough. They do. I mean, they made a lot of money off of death.
Manufacturer of OxyContin and its former owners, the Sackler family, responsible. She and most other victims' families are urging the Supreme Court to approve a 2021 multi-billion-dollar bankruptcy plan that will provide up to $6 billion for treatment and programs to combat the opioid crisis, including $750 million to victims and their families.
And I...
Whoops. Robbie, you bad Gene. Dang.
Do believe that...
Hit him with the hammer. Sure you don't, Robbie. Sure you don't.
Was the best deal.
But that deal...
You didn't like that we were all laughing at that German joke, did you? Oi.
Has a catch. It would shield the Sackler family from lawsuits, even though they are not bankrupt themselves. And that has divided families who share a tragic bond.
They need to be held accountable.
Ellen Isaacs, whose son died of an overdose, says the deal lets the Sacklers off the hook.
Give me the ability
I'll check
to
it
get a
out.
jury by trial of my peers. Closing that door, it's not going to help anybody with
Naders is
healing.
now banned.
Isaacs, along with the Justice Department, is urging the Supreme Court
I think
to
he
reject
loses
the
his
plan.
VIP
In arguments
status,
today,
too.
the justices struggled. Some were concerned
no, he's
rejecting
back.
the deal would leave many families with nothing.
The opioid victims and their families overwhelmingly approve this plan because they think it will ensure prompt payment.
But other justices pointed out the Sacklers also would
I see.
benefit
Thank you.
and only agreed to the plan because it protects them from lawsuits.
The Sacklers have taken the money and are not willing to give it back unless they have this condition.
Now, the outcome of this case could also have huge implications for how corporations use bankruptcy to try to protect owners from lawsuits. And that's why you're seeing other organizations like the Boy Scouts and the Catholic Church filing papers in support of this agreement. A decision is expected by June.
June?
Such an important case. Jan Crawford, thank you.
So there you go. Right now, people are fighting to get the Sacklers to be held accountable, and they want that money, bitch. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm going to be following this story for sure, because this is important shit. This really put a dent in America, man. I mean, if we already have so many problems, and then for this, and then the fentanyl, and it almost seems by design. So did you hear about the kid who beat Tetris? No one thought it was possible. I think I did, actually. Was he a Russian kid? Let me see this story. Boom. Let's check it out. Sky News.
Outed as a video game that just can't be beaten because it just goes on and on. Well, 13-year-old American Willis Gibson has technically proven that wrong. He beat the original Nintendo version of the game by reaching such a high level that the coding froze, that left the program unable to generate any more falling blocks. As a mother, I would just say step away from the screen, go outside, get some fresh air. Beating Tetris is not a life goal.
Yeah, there you go. That's definitely a Karen right there. That's nuts. Yeah, exactly. Shut up, bitch. Let him fucking win. She just couldn't. Okay. By the way, I'd smash. I'd smash. Is Twatty McTwatterson. Smash or pass? Yeah, exactly, Robbie. Exactly. I mean, I think she's better looking than the last one. Shit. Come with it, baby. Boo. She's probably almost 50. She needs her moment with her morning wine and pills. Yeah, she definitely is benefiting off of Big Pharma just by waking up. All right. Let's go and check out Sharika Sharad. And let's check out her new music. And Robbie, you helped in the production of this video, but like no one had ever done this before. That's not a life. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty cool. She needs to be on America's Got Talent. She can replace Simon Cowell. She could. A newsacre while praising Dart World Championship days earlier.